main design of this is for.
Any other comments? All right. Then I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing on proposed local law number 2 and go back into our regular town board meeting. Mark, second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. All right. The first item on the agenda under highway, and it's really just a reminder, is that, and we want to get our time frame clear, that there will be a proposed local law that we will have to vote on, changing the highway superintendent's term from 2 years to 4 years. Most of the towns in Dutchess County have, not all, but most of them do have 4-year terms for their highway superintendents. So this is a proposed local law. Now, Bill, we have to have the law written and then have a public hearing.
Correct. I've done a draft of the local law.
Okay.
The local law has to go on the election, and it has to be the biennial election, which is next year's election. Has to be on the ballot, has to be passed more than 180 days prior to the general election. So we're looking at April of 2011 when this has to be done.
Okay.
My suggestion is I've got a draft, I can get it to the board. But given the fact that it's not going to be on until next year's election,
There's no
need to do it, but we should just tentatively look at scheduling a public hearing for sometime in March, April timeframe next year.
Okay. So the public hearing should be March. Right?
And unfortunately, I mean, the term that will be up at that point in time will be the 2-year term, and I believe that any election would have to be for that 2-year term and will not take effect until that 2-year term expires. Simply put, I don't think it would take effect till 2013, because you can't run for the same election and have the vote on whether the term should be extended.
Okay. Thank you. Just a reminder about the bids for radio communication for the highway. Our town attorney, Mr. Bogle, has suggested that that I contact Jim Myers and some other highway superintendents and get some leads on someone who could help us write a good and solid bid proposal, and who isn't going to be bidding him or herself on it. So I'll move ahead with that. The next thing says new garage committee liaison. We have shifted the liaison positions around a little bit. I might as well deal with all of them because it's just a matter of listing them. Mark D'Agostino will be the liaison from the town board for the master plan committee and the rec committee. Tom Dewhurst will do the conservation advisory committee, and as a new appointment, do the highway garage, be the liaison to the highway garage committee. Chris Flynn will be the liaison to the Farm and Agriculture Committee and the Zoning Board of Appeals, and Johanna, the Planning Board, and the Fire Commissioners. We need to vote on Tom getting a new appointment. Do we vote on all of them, the ones that were shifted as well?
Isn't a liaison the choice of the supervisor?
Yes.
I thought it was just an appointment, but I just want to double check.
It's your choice.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's it. Highway Department report. Jim Myers is ill, but he called me with his report. I'm just going to list all of the things that the Highway Department has been doing. Cutting brush and blacktopping on Ridge and Woods roads. Cutting shoulders on Homan and Pugsley Hill roads. Doing ditch work on Layton Road where there was flooding with the last big rains, some serious flooding to the houses on the side of it. A culvert pipe work on Wendover Road. He's been hot patching potholes all around, mowing edges of roads. They repaired the interior wall damage of the salt shed, drained the rec pond, and refilled it. And so it's ready to go for the summer. and they mowed the landfill, which by law must be done twice a year. So the highway department has been busy. All right, the next, is there anything other under highway that anybody wants to bring up? Okay. Unfinished business. First thing under unfinished business is the supervisor's computer. I asked Jim Jeffries to be here because he is the person who put together the suggestions for the supervisor's computer. I'm living with a very, very old, inefficient, and difficult computer system. Mr. Jeffries, aside from being the supervisor of Mylan for 12 years?
Almost 15.
Almost 15, and on the planning board, has a computer consulting business where he does a lot of consulting for municipalities in terms of their computer systems. So I asked him to be here to answer any questions anybody might have. Any discussion?
I don't know anything about computers.
No discussion.
Well, Mr. Jeffers, you were going to, or Mark D'Agostino. I know you first got involved with the town recently, maybe not the first time, but just recently we had some issues with the virus.
Any virus, that's correct.
Right. So I had thought that maybe you can talk a little bit about some antivirus protection, malware, or something to that extent.
Mark, we can talk about it, and I think it's really an important issue. In fact, I think the entire computer system in the town should be looked at, and seeing what should be tied together and what needs to be done. But right now, there's just this on the agenda. We can't extend the topic. But we certainly can put it on the agenda for next time and talk about it because it's a very important issue. So are there any comments or questions about the computer system that Mr. Jeffries recommended for the supervisor's office? And I want to remind everybody that this is not a computer for me. It's a computer for the supervisor, and I am not going to be the supervisor forever. And according to Mr. Jeffries, the computer and the printer that he has recommended have a lifetime of many years. 8, 10, 12 maybe, I don't know. But
Thank you. Well, first of all, good evening, everyone. Jim Jeffries.
Thank you, Jim.
Here. It's nice to see
Thank you.
everyone. This is Supervisor, Town Board. It's a pleasure to speak to you. What I did is I had prepared 3 different quotes on computers for your office, like sort of good, better, best, looking at state contract price as well as direct purchase price for what they refer to as the small business division. You're, of course, eligible as a member of GSA to purchase off a state contract. So I provided those numbers for you on those 3. It actually turns out that the lower price can actually come from small business, which is not unusual in the early part of the year. Sometimes they discount them more heavily in order to be more competitive. So it's up to the board to determine whether that fits all of the requirements of your esteemed accounting staff that does the review. As part of that, though, and I think this is the point that the councilman was making, is that I think one of the worries that you might have kind of going forward, because there is no central computer system in the town hall, and I know you inherited this, is that there needs to be consistency.
yes.
Or there should be. I should say there should be consistency in the town hall in terms of protecting the town against viruses, be they, the traditional virus that we may find in our computers, or spyware or malware, which all of us are getting more familiar with. And if we provide a